Hello, here we are at the beginning of our implementation of the smart contract for the IHCO initial altcoins offering. So as you can see, I started by getting the version of the compiler, which is version 0.4.11. That's the version I used at the time I implemented this smart contract. But of course, you might have another version which should also work. And that's how you have to start with Solidity, by just getting this version of the compiler. And then we are ready to create the contract. And to create a contract in Solidity, well, we start like this. Contract. Then we need to give a name to this contract, and we're going to call it @coin ICO. So that's the name of our contract. And then to define this contract, we need to add here some brackets, and anything that happens inside the contract will be the definition of the contract. So there we go. Congratulations for those of you who just started their very first contract in Solidity. Okay, so in this contract, we're going to start by defining the public variables. That is the variables that can be accessed by anyone even outside the contract. You know, that's important to understand the difference between public variables and private variables, which we can differentiate here in Solidity or even C++. A public variable is a variable that can be accessed by anyone even outside the contract, and a private variable is a variable that can be accessed by only the people that are inside the contract. Okay? So you'll see we'll define some investors' addresses, and these will be the people, for example, inside the contract. But for now, we're going to start by defining a public variable, which will be the total number of altcoins available for sale. That is the total number of altcoins we're issuing. And we're issuing 1 million altcoins. Therefore, 1 million altcoins will be available for sale. And so I'm going to introduce a new code section here with these double slashes for a comment. So new comment here, new code section, which will be introducing the maximum, let's say the maximum or the total number of altcoins available for sale. All right, and according to you, is this maximum number of altcoins available for sale going to be a public or a private variable? Well, an ICO, which is deriving from an IPO, initial public offering. You know, an IPO is for stocks and an ICO is for cryptocurrencies or tokens. But an ICO is public as an IPO, so that, you know, anybody can invest in the tokens of the blockchain technology that a company is building. The ICO is public, and therefore, of course, the maximum number of altcoins available for sale will be a public variable. And to make this a public variable, we must first declare the type, which is going to be a U integer, which means that it's an unsigned version of an integer, meaning that the integer cannot be negative, and more precisely, it goes from 0 to the 32-bit limit, which is 430 million. That's the maximum number the uint integer can have. So here you have many of them, but we're just going to take uint. That's enough. However, if you want to issue 1 billion altcoins, well, you would need to take the uint 128, you know, to increase the maximum limit. And then to make this variable a public variable, we simply need to add here public. All right. And then, of course, the name of the variable, which we're going to call, let's make everything crystal clear, max altcoins. The maximum number of altcoins available for sale, which we can already initialize its value. We want to sell 1 million altcoins to the world, and therefore this max altcoins variable will be initialized to 1 million. Do we have 1 million here? Yes, we do. Perfect. So that's our first variable, a public variable, the maximum number of altcoins available for sale. Altcoins? No, I prefer altcoins. All right. So altcoins, all good. Now let's define the next public variable. So the next variable is going to be an interesting one. We are going to define the conversion rate from US dollars to altcoins. That is, how many altcoins $1 is going to be. So let's take the Bitcoin, for example. Remember, in 2009, well, you could buy a pizza with 10,000 bitcoins. And you know, there is this story of some guy buying a pizza with 10,000 altcoins. And I think the pizza was worth $20. And so he paid the pizza with 10,000 bitcoins. And there is a funny anecdote. If he had kept for him his 10,000 bitcoins instead of getting some pizzas, well, in November 2017, which at the time I'm speaking was the highest point of the Bitcoin, reaching something around $18,000, well, this guy would have $100 million. So that's a funny anecdote, but not that funny for this guy. And if by any chance one day you buy a pizza with some altcoins, we never know, well, make sure to think twice. And so anyway, we're going to define that rate. And so the question is, how many altcoins would you give for some pizzas? Well, you would give an infinity of altcoins because an altcoin is worth absolutely nothing. But we're just going to pretend it's worth something. And just for fun, we're going to say that $1 is 1,000 altcoin. All right. So we're issuing $1,000 of altcoins. And therefore, new code section here, introducing the USD to altcoins conversion rate. Perfect. So the USD to altcoins conversion rate, and is that going to be a public or private variable? Well, of course, it's going to be public. Otherwise, the ICO would sound fishy. You know, if you don't know what you can buy with $1, don't give your money. And so we're going to do the same. I'm going to copy this to be efficient because it's going to be almost the same. We'll just need to replace the name of the variable. So it's not going to be max altcoins, but let's say USD to altcoins. Again, let's make things crystal clear. And as we said, $1 equals 1,000 altcoins. Okay, then let's not forget the semicolon right here and right here. All right, so everything looks good in the code so far. And now we're going to have to define a third variable, which will be a variable that will change its value during the ICO because it's going to be the total number of altcoins that have been bought by the investors. And of course, it's useful to have this variable to keep track of the ICO until all the altcoins are issued, until we have no altcoins left to sell. And so, third code section here, introducing the total number of altcoins that have been bought by the investors. All right, introducing the total number of altcoins that have been bought by the investors. All good. And again, I'm asking the question, is it going to be a public or private variable? Well, in an IPO or an ICO, there must be 100% transparency and also being able to see the number of altcoins left inside to invest. And therefore, of course, this variable is going to be again public. So I'm going to copy this and paste it here. And so this is going to be an integer, public variable, and then the name of this variable will be total altcoins bought. All right, hope that's clear enough. Total altcoins bought, and we will initialize it to 0. 0, of course, because at the beginning of the ICO, no investor will have bought any altcoin, and therefore it must start at 0. Okay, so that's it. That's going to be it for this tutorial. That was just the getting started tutorial for this implementation to introduce all the required variables. In the next one, we're going to do something slightly less easy, but still quite easy. We're going to do a mapping from the investor's address to both its equity in altcoins and US dollars. So again, check out the doc to get ready for this, but it's a no-brainer. It's going to be quite easy. A mapping is basically like a function. A function that will take the address of the investor and return its equity. All right, so let's do this in the next tutorial. And until then, enjoy blockchains.